As technology evolves over time, the more complex yet more simple it becomes. This can be witnessed with the evolution of firearms. As with early muskets, reloading was quite the complex process, with the firing mechanism being fairly simple. The inverse can be said, comparatively, for modern firearms such as the M4A1, where reloading is as simple as inserting another magazine and releasing the bolt, while the firing mechanism is made of multiple moving parts rather than a few. These different eras, ranging from the 19th century to modernity, are reflected in the design of the firearms as well, with older firearms possessing mainly wood furniture, stocks, bodies, and so on, while recent firearms are mainly polymer and steel to have a more lightweight weapon. These eras also influence what the firearms fire and what actions they use, as firearms produced pre-Cold War more often than not use a proprietary caliber unique to either the brand or country, such as 8mm Lebel or 7.92 Mauser, while Cold War and post-Cold War firearms use NATO standardized or Warsaw Pact issue calibers. Countries of origin often have an impact on the design of the firearm as well, with the firearms being designed to suit the needs of the country that is adopting the firearm, or the coalition of nations that are adopting it, so they may each produce their own unique variant of the base gun. This video will look at and analyze how Girls Frontline represents the different eras and countries of origin for the different T-dolls within the game. It should be noted that not all of the T-dolls will be covered, mainly the ones with obvious design cues or ones that I found personally interesting. So don't get your panties in a bunch if you don't see your favorite character. Eras will first be compared, then the countries of the different T-dolls, going on a country-by-country basis rather than what category of firearm the T-doll is. If you're going to comment about why a T-doll isn't in the video, it's because I didn't find anything related to her design, and if you're going to cry about it in the comment anyways, remain permanently upset. I'm also not covering skins or mod outfits. Beginning with eras, we have 3 of the oldest T-dolls and 3 of the newest. SAA, Lee Enfield, M1918, all of which firearms are over 100 years old, and the newest being represented by MDR, LWMMG, and AK-12. Single Action Army, or SAA, is quite obviously designed around the stereotypical cowboy, rancher, or cowhand outfits that mostly men from 1873 would have worn during the golden era of cowboys, albeit with some modern twists. Her articles of clothing, such as the leather fringe boots with spurs, jeans, a holster attached to a leather belt, cuff gloves, poncho, 10-gallon hat, and tin star, are all evidence of this. The modern parts of her clothing, however, are noticeable, with the more modern high-heeled boots, short shorts for her jeans, and tied-up white shirt, but the cowboy aesthetic is definitely prominent. Lee Enfield's outfit is primarily based on either British regular infantry dress or dress uniforms of the late Victorian era. The predominant red color of her overcoat with the gold and white accents strewn about it, the white pants, neckerchief, and gloves, as well as the brown leather boots give her a very distinct Victorian era style, along with a slight tinge of steampunk with the monocle on the top of her head, as well as the brown and gold contrast on her boots. There's no modern parts of her clothing, unless you want to count her being a female soldier as modern. M1918 Browning Automatic Rifle, or BARS uniform, is based on World War II female dress uniform, but it's partially modified. The overcoat she wears is standard for US Army dress uniform of the time, with the US badges on the upper collar and the cross cavalry sabers that designate her as part of some cavalry unit, and her aviator sunglasses. But that's about where the standard dress uniform ends, as the skirt is much too short as well as pleated, the gold stripes around the hem of her coat and skirt are unnecessary, flats were not worn, white thigh highs are not worn, and the undershirt and tie should be more a khaki drab than green. But overall, still heavily inspired by US Army dress uniform. In all honesty, I don't even know where to start with these modern firearms, as I don't believe they're based on any modern military, instead possibly being based on modern fashion styles or trends, or whatever the artist thought would fit the character. MDR appears to be in the style of what's known as streetwear and tactical. The high-top sneakers as well as baggy coat with neon colors combined with the amount of straps and buckles she has, as well as the large backpack, glow sticks, and thigh holsters, further emphasize the combination of these two styles. What does throw me off is the flip phone she has, which would be incredibly out of date and old for when GFL is set. LWMMG is a strange case, but by my best guess, it seems to be something like a combination of beach and/or summer wear and gadu wear with a bit of tactical. Dyed ends of her hair, a baggy overcoat that is of a brighter color, short jean shorts, and a cropped collared shirt, mismatched sock lengths, and choker all contribute to these two main themes, the tactical coming from the radio headset, gloves, mag belt pouches, thigh pouches, and combat boots. AK-12 stumps me. I have no idea what kind of style she's wearing outside of maybe futuristic military or futuristic operator. The long cowl or coat she wears improperly would easily get in the way during combat, the boots look way too loose, and the huge pouches around her body look cumbersome and like they get in the way. Throw in a ton of straps, buckles, and a gas mask for good measure, and you have whatever futuristic aesthetic AK-12 is trying to achieve. Beginning the countries section, we have one of the most well-represented and easily identifiable countries, with the Russian Empire, USSR, and Russian Federation, or just Russia in general. The main themes for the Russian or Soviet T-dolls appears to be militaristic, whether it be from the Russian Empire, USSR, or modern Russia, police officers, or streetwear, with a heavy emphasis on Russian military garb. The Russian Empire-based T-dolls are a bit harder to distinguish from the Soviet T-dolls, but the main thing missing between the two is the lack of red stars or stars in general in their designs. The main two that fit this, M1895 and Fedorov, though Fedorov does have a red star on her pauldron, wear outfits that were either traditional to the women of the time or something that a military officer would wear. Fluffy white hats, clothing that's fur-trimmed, and an overall cool color scheme give both a very Imperial Russian feel. It's also to be noted that Fedorov has a Marichashka doll and an Eastern Orthodox cross around her belt. The Soviet T-dolls, on the other hand, are numerous and easily identifiable, with the amount of Soviet paraphernalia that they have on hand. They can also be broken up into two eras, interwar/World War II and Cold War, with the Cold War T-dolls having more modern camo and equipment outside of their main firearm. Most of the World War II uniforms are stylized winter uniforms that are similar to the Russian Empire, with the addition of many red stars. Most or all have predominantly white, fur-trimmed clothing, big furry hats, and long cloaks. Some things of note is that PPD-40 is dressed more so like a high-ranking Soviet officer than a soldier like the others, as can be seen in her extravagant dress and multiple medals, while PPS-43 dresses like a member of the Soviet Navy, as can be seen with the sailor's uniform. Cold War Soviet T-dolls appear to be all over the place when it comes to design. Some are wearing similar outfits to their World War II sisters, some wear uniforms that soldiers would wear in combat, and some wear what I would consider to be either an officer's uniform or parade dress. Something similar to a World War II dress would be either Makarov, A91, or Stechkin, fur-trimmed uniforms that look like they'd keep you warm in the winter with red stars, even though Stechkin doesn't have any. More combat-oriented would be T-dolls like AK-47 and AS-Val, wearing something that you'd see Soviet soldiers wearing in places such as Afghanistan, while AS-Val wears something like a member of the VDV with their iconic striped shirts. More combat-oriented would be T-dolls like AS-Val and AK-47, with AK-47 wearing something that you'd see Soviet soldiers wearing in a place such as Afghanistan, while AS-Val dresses like a member of the VDV, with their iconic striped shirts. Military dress is most common for this category, as firearms such as SVD and OTS-12 wear uniforms that would be impractical for combat but show off good during a parade. Medals, ribbons, bright colors, wedges, berets, gold, and so on. The modern military ones are a bit more practical, as they look like they could go either way for combat or dress. AK-74M is a good example, as she has more muted colors, magazine pouches, and so on, with a cape that won't get in the way where actual combat to occur. The same can be said about SV-98 and her uniform. The police outfits are a bit hard to distinguish from military outfits as well, but not impossible to do. There tends to be less red stars and more blue tones when it comes to cops, such as MP-446, Sudoyukov, and VSK-94. VSK has the most obvious design of the three, as she has handcuffs and an officer's jacket in her design, while MP-446 and Sidorukov are more so police parade dress uniforms. Finally, we have streetwear with AEK and Kalin. Kalin is the more Russian-inspired of the two, as she has obvious nods to the Adidas and tracksuits that the stereotypical gopniks wear in Russian media, while AEK 999 is more just general streetwear or biker style, with a large coat and some bright colors highlighting her. The German uniforms and designs are very on the nose and military oriented, with the majority being based off of World War II German uniforms from either the Army or Air Force, though there are some designs based on Cold War and modern outfits, with some German Empire ones as well. For the German Empire, there's C-93, Pickelhaube, a German officer's uniform, massive flagpole, and medals adorned on her chest, with an overall gray, black, and red color scheme. Her outfit screams World War I Germany so much you'd think it's Passchendaele. As for World War II Germany, there's many to choose from. P-38, C-96, STG-44, MP-40 and 41, G-43, FG-42, and MG-34. All have uniforms similar to, based on, or directly copied from German World War II uniforms of tankers, infantry, or Air Force. Black or dark gray color scheme, eagles, red armbands, wedges, and either a red or white silver trim on their clothing. Some even have ranks on their uniforms, such as C-96 being a captain, MP-40 being a lieutenant, P-38 being a major general, and G-43 being a senior corporal. The modern German firearms, notably G3, MP7, G28, and G36C, all wear some form of dress or combat uniform as well. MP7 is based on German tanker crews, as she is often used by them because of her size, while G3, and especially G28 and G36C, are based on modern Bundeswehr dress uniforms, as is seen with the predominant gray coloring and white trim for G28 and G36C. Japan, non-surprisingly, has their guns based on sailor girls or school uniforms, which are both based on the popularity of school uniforms within Japan, as well as the eras of their respective firearms originate from. T-dolls with firearms from World War II or the early Cold War have darker fabrics and are mostly in sailor schoolgirl uniforms, such as Type 4, Howa Type 64, Type 100, and Type 62, with Type 100 having sakura blossoms and petals adorned on her leggings and skirt. Howa Type 89, on the other hand, is much brighter in their colors, with much more pink and red compared to the others, as well as having a bow, cardigan, and suit jacket, rather than the traditional sailor uniform like the others. The Italians, unsurprisingly, given the previous record for T-doll designs, are mostly based on some form of military uniform, or have some military uniform influence in their designs. M38 is most prevalent with this influence, as her design is mainly based on the garb of World War II Italian soldiers, notably the black shirts, as well as minor references to the 1st Infantry Regiment and 3rd Infantry Division. The Brits, again, are military influence, but with the quintessential British royalty that the dress uniforms and officers have within the British military. Bright reds, frills everywhere, white gloved hands, tall leather lace-up boots, and gold accents showcase this very well. Webley shows this off as well with most of the aforementioned aspects, with her design making her appear like a member of the royal family, or at least some high-ranking officer, as officers were the ones who commonly used the Webley. France's is very basic, but also noticeable. Most, if not all, the French firearms have the colors red, white, and blue present in their design. Whether it be part of their clothing or a French flag, the tricolor of France is always present in their designs. Also of note is how most dress very fashionably, with Moss 38 having what appears to be designer bags around her waist and behind her. The People's Republic of China's firearms have just as many stars and communist imagery as the Soviets did, if not more, with only a few exceptions having none whatsoever. The designs are again heavily militarized, with all being either practical for field usage, like Type 03 and 64 are, or being well groomed enough for a military parade in front of Mao, like Type 56R and 92. What's interesting is the common usage of darker colors, such as olive green, as this is a common color used for basic camouflage. The USA has got to be the most diverse country yet, with streetwear, cops, military, and cowboys. The streetwear, like with most fashion in the US, is very flashy and noticeable, taking notes from other cultures and making it their own. M327, for example, combines the usual baggy coat found in streetwear with a sort of gothic Japanese schoolgirl style, with her school S uniform underneath her coat, accented with bright pink. The cops are quite easy to recognize as well, as they're dressed in the usual cop attire of dark blue, and some police tools as well, such as M87 having a ballistic riot shield, a wide brim hat, and a pair of handcuffs. Cowboys, like Colt Walker, are easily distinguishable as well, with their classic chaps, 10-gallon hats, and so on. The military outfits range from World War I to modernity, with T-dolls such as M1 Garand having a woman's World War II military uniform, while someone like M4 has something that's more modern. Belgium's common thread is that most of the T-dolls have some sort of reference or nod towards their creator company, FN Herstal. These range from the FN logo to things with FN on them, to hairpins, and so on. The Austrians usually either carry white and black or a white, black, and red color scheme within their designs, most wearing dresses as well for whatever reason. This color pattern can be seen in Og, for example, where her dress is mainly black and white, with the same going for her sister Og Para, and IWS 2000. Notably, IWS has the Austrian Black Eagle in her design, which is a nice little touch. Israel is very on the nose. Judaism, Stars of David, and overall Jewish imagery is very, very prevalent in their designs. The most on the nose is Negev, as she's wearing practically the Israeli flag as a dress, as well as having 17 visible Stars of David throughout her design. Galil is dressed in an early uniform of the IDF, Uzi has Khazar Melkers, and X95 has a Jewish shawl over her. As shown with the T-dolls throughout this video, the countries and eras of the T-dolls have a significant impact on how the design of the T-dolls themselves turn out, ranging from obvious with red stars and Stars of David, to not so obvious like hidden manufacturer references and nods to their flags. Thank you for watching. Please follow my Twitter for updates, and I stream sometimes as well. Check out my other Azure Lane and Arknights videos too.